Ethics Committee. Talking about lots of scary, spooky stuff.
Infringement to occur, so they would be able
Angus
to be
on board.
proactive, and that I think is very important if we want to protect privacy and personal information. Question.
Angus, Mr. Angus. Mr. Angus, I think you're still on mute. We'll start you again.
Thank you very much.
There we go.
Mr. Terrien, when we first learned of the Clearview AI case, it seemed to be, the worst possible scenario. Here we had this company that scraped millions and millions of photos of Canadians without their consent. Our kids' birthday parties, our backyard barbecues, us at work, and then created a database that they were selling to all manner of organizations. They claim it was for police, but we know individual police officers without oversight had it. We know that a billionaire, John Katzimatidis, used it to target his daughter's boyfriend. You launched an investigation. Clearview AI, their attitude was, hey, too bad, so sad, you're just Canadians. We don't even feel we're obligated to follow the law. So we have a new law, C11, come in, and my understanding, my gut feeling was that the C11 would fix these things so that we would have more powers, that we'd be able to target these companies to make them respect law. Are you telling us that under C11, the weight of support would actually go to rogue outliers like Clearview AI over the rights of citizens? And are you saying that the monetary penalties that we've been told about that would, ensure compliance, that a company like Clearview AI would be completely exempt from that? Is that what we're seeing under this new law?
All right, are you gonna really hear this guy's reply? He talks like really calm because he deals with this stuff every day, but it's explosive stuff. So try to pay attention to the details because it's like boom, boom. We'll highlight it out. Check it out.
There are two main mechanisms that are relevant to Clearview's situation under CPPA. The first one is the purpose clause. So Section 5 of the CPPA, which confirms the IPEDA's approach to balance commercial interests with privacy considerations. That clause does not say that privacy is a human right, and that clause adds a number of commercial factors to the current law compared to the current law. So there would be a balancing exercise. But with the likelihood of greater weight given to commercial factors than under the current PIPEDA, point one. Point two, assuming that it would be inconsistent with the CPPA for Clearview to do what they did, there's an administrative penalty scheme under C11 and a criminal penalty scheme under C11. The administrative penalty scheme is limited to an extremely narrow slice of violations of the CPPA and violations having to do with form of consent, with the understanding requirement that I referred to before, with whether Clearview had the right balance between commercial interests and human rights. All of that is not, cannot be the subject of administrative penalties under the CPPA. In order for penalties to apply, I would have the office would have to, one, make a finding, which would take about 2 years, two, make an order. The tribunal would need to then decide whether to impose, penalty would be excluded. So the tribunal would sit in appeal of our order. Assuming the company would still not comply with the order, then it is the fact that the company would not comply with an order several years after it has been made that would be the subject of criminal penalties, and the criminal courts would be involved. So a very protracted process leading to penalties, we think something like 7 years after the facts.
Wow.
As opposed to what should be happening, we think, which is that we should be able to impose penalties, of course, subject to court review for fairness considerations vis-a-vis companies. And we think that the delay would be roughly 2 years in that model compared to the model in C11.
Okay, I think this is really important because I think most Canadians would agree the Clearview AI situation was very concerning, and we could see many, many more examples of this as this technology becomes more commonplace. And yet we have a legislation that seems to be going backwards, willing to protect the Clearview AIs rather than citizens. I ask this because we have C10, which should have been a pretty straightforward bill about making the tech giants pay their part, and instead it's turned into this legislative dumpster fire with the minister running around looking like a chicken with his head cut off. The issue of privacy rights was something that our committee had brought forward really clear recommendations for. What you're telling us with Clearview AI is that this law is actually not taking the lessons that we learned on issues like facial recognition, and not lessons that we've learned from the big data giants ignoring their obligations under Canadian law, but actually writing in more protections for that abuse because we're not looking at it in a human rights frame. Is that correct?
I think very, very significant amendments to Bill C11 should be made to adequately protect privacy.
Thank you. Do I have any time left?
You do have 30 seconds left, or 20 seconds left.
Okay, I just want to follow up then in terms of the RCMP investigation. RCMP refused to tell the Canadian public whether they were using this technology at all. Are you looking at laws that would ensure compliance of our police services with companies like Clearview AI?
My report will address that theme generally. I'll leave it on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget to like, dislike, subscribe, and comment. Safe Space Cafe. And always, have a good day.